Hello my dear creative army, thank you so much for joining me. This video is going to be a walkthrough of creating a character portrait specifically. I am Venkatesh and this is Draw with Atma. In this video, I am going to walk you through my process. I am going to show you step by step how I create an entire artwork from start to finish. You will be able to follow along. You can keep watching, probably draw along. This is going to be a long one. You can have the video playing, come back to it, probably draw with it, or probably have it as a learning tool. You can use it for some other artwork that you're going to create in the future. Alright, so without too much ado, let me quickly jump into it. Hope you guys enjoy this. Stay till the end so you get to learn all the things that I want to teach you in this video. Alright, so let me quickly jump in. To begin with, let me just show you my screen and also start the process here. You can see that I have chosen a brush which is a hard round brush, and the hard round brush basically allows you to make really strong and really crisp kind of lines. Okay, you can create shapes, you can create forms using these hard crisp lines that this allows you to do. What I'm trying to do here basically is to find the basic shape of the character. The first thing that I'm trying to do is find the basic shape of the character, right? How do you do that? I'm essentially trying to lay down the basic form or basic shape of the character's head, right? You know that the head essentially comprises of different parts, right? The head has a broad shape which kind of resembles a sphere on top and a cylinder at the bottom, right? What I'm trying to do here is I'm essentially trying to map out the different parts of the face and where they lie. I'm not being very careful here. What I'm essentially doing is trying to fix locations for each of these different parts of the face. Starting with the hair, for that matter, which happens to be the biggest part in the entire face. I'm trying to block out the area that I think will be right for the hair. Okay, you can see that I am creating this broad shape. The shape essentially is to mark the area where I think the hair should be. Okay, I will be making comments as we go along, and I will let you see the process for what it is as it proceeds. Okay, now what am I trying to do? I am also blocking in the area which happens to be the area of the face. Okay, and again, in the face, I am not being very careful about which parts of the face I am trying to make at this stage. What I'm trying to do is block in the broad shapes. There is this method called big, medium, small approach, right? When you're creating any artwork, you always have to approach it in these three steps. What am I doing here at this stage? I am primarily focusing on creating the big shapes, correct? The big shape for the face, the big shape for the neck, the big shape for the chest for that matter. And you can see that the character's hair also has a broad shape to it, but at the same time, it does not have any details. Okay? As we proceed along, you will be able to see how I go into the medium stage, how I go into the small stage as well. You see, I'm trying to refine the shapes that I have created. I'm trying to add some more crispness, some more clarity to each of these shapes that I have made, right? If I have to add some amount of detail to the hair in order to make it look a little more characteristic, I am doing that as well. Similarly, now what am I trying to do? I am essentially trying to fix the location of each of the eyes, right? This is again a very broad and very rough sort of a placement for these two eyes. Okay, it's not final. I do not want you guys to think that you need to be absolutely precise about where you want to keep the eyes. You can be a little fluid in the way you work. Okay, I always emphasize on the fact that you need to be really fluid in the way you work. You shouldn't really restrict yourself and say this is exactly what I want to do and this is exactly the place that I want to place it, because The primary reason for saying that is that you will definitely be stuck with the choices that you make. You wouldn't really want to make any changes in case you choose to go ahead and fix the places or fix the things that you make in a particular artwork. In case you have only made those choices of placing certain parts of the face or certain details of the face in certain locations, then you would always be willing to go ahead and make those changes at a later stage. If you start with a very, very detailed artwork from the very beginning, then you will regret making any changes later on, because that's going to take a lot of time. All right. So I always suggest my students, the people who I am mentoring right now, to always focus on creating broad shapes first, not to focus too much on the details, and only create artworks with a very, very fluid flow of approach, right? Or basically be very flexible in the way you work. What am I doing now? So there are different colors that I'm picking in order to be able to show different, forms in this particular artwork. What do you mean by form? Now, shapes are something which are very flat in nature, right? If you have a shape, then the shape essentially shows you the boundaries of a particular object. But form basically allows you to see the three-dimensionality of that particular object. What do I mean by three-dimensionality? If you see a particular, sphere or a rectangle or a cuboid, for instance, or a cone for that matter, what will you be able to see? You will be able to see that light is hitting it at a certain angle, and the other side of it is in shadows, right? Similarly, when you are creating a character or a portrait of a character, every single part of the face is catching light. Either it is catching light directly or it is actually in shadows, right? That is what will make the character look three-dimensional, and that's what we want to achieve by using different colors that we are using in this piece. You can see while I'm trying to do the hair, I have given some amount of highlight on a particular area, which automatically makes it seem that one part of the hair is a little forward and the rest of the hair is a little behind, right? The white lines that you're seeing right here on this part, right? This essentially shows you that that part is a highlight on the hair. This is what happens when light hits your hair, right? Your hair kind of shines. You want to show shine, you want to give a really, really strong highlight. And all of this, again, like I said, is not fixed, is not something that is absolutely written in stone. You have to be really flexible and really fluid in the way you work, so you will be able to create an artwork which looks and feels fluid. And also, you will have the flexibility to make the changes at a later stage. Now, in order to make the skin look a little more lively, I am changing the color of the skin a little bit. You can see that I started with a very, very light cream off-white sort of a skin tone, but on that now I'm trying to add some more red tones. Why red? Because red essentially makes your skin feel lively. Essentially it adds some amount of life to it, because the skin is made of certain layers, and underneath that there is blood flowing, correct? So when there is blood flowing underneath it, there will be some parts of the face which will actually be looking more redder in comparison to some other parts, and that's what we want to highlight. Tip of the nose is one part which actually looks a little redder in comparison to the rest of the face. Okay. What am I doing now after giving like very, very broad, shapes to the different parts of the face, the nose, the placement for the lips, the eyes, etc. Now what am I trying to do? I am now trying to refine the shapes. In the beginning I mentioned how we are going to follow a big, medium and small approach, correct? Now big is what the broad shapes that we started with. Now you see that I am going ahead and adding some more finer levels of detail, which will make it even more clear in comparison to what it was before. Now this is the medium stage. At this stage I am trying to give a little more definition to the artwork by adding some more details. Please bear in mind that across the entire piece I am using the brush at 100% opacity. I'm using the brush at 100% flow, and I'm using a hard round brush only. I am not changing my brush at all. Alright, again, the details that I'm adding to this particular piece here, or making slight adjustments to the values of this artwork by making certain areas darker, is using the hard round brush. I am making certain areas a little more darker and a little more cooler for that matter, and refine the hair part of the entire artwork a little more. You can see the artwork as it progresses, and I will be adding comments as and when required. Now you see, when I said that the form of a particular object or the shape of a particular object, you are able to see when you see that light hits it at a certain point and some parts of it are in shadows, right? If you look at this particular or this artwork's hair part of it, the hair part, if you look at it closely, you will see that some parts I have made it in dark region, right? Well, they are dark only because they are the farther away part towards the light, right? In the sense, I don't know what, let me just correct myself. The light is coming in from one direction, it hits the head on a particular point, and the places which are a little further away from the point where the light hits will be a little darker. You can see that this region at the top, because it is behind a little bit and also is being obscured by this part of the hair, it's a little darker. Similarly, if light is hitting from the front at this part, in this region, then these areas will be in a relatively darker zone. And that's why I'm adding darker areas in this parts of the hair. While in the center, you still see that the color is a little lighter and a little more warmer. Now, a quick tip for you guys: if you are working on an artwork and you want to pick colors from a particular point in the artwork itself, on Photoshop, what you can do is you can hit Alt. Alt essentially brings up the color picker in your cursor, and while holding Alt, you can just go ahead and pick any color from the surface, and that will become the default color that you have on your brush. You can see that I am picking color from here and there. I'm picking the color from the, say, the white in the background. I'm picking color sometimes from the light region of the hair, right? On the top right side of her hair, you can see that there is again a bright area, a bright patch where the light is hitting directly and it is shining very clearly, right? That again is an indication of where the light is coming from, and that's what gives it that kind of a three-dimensional look. The next stage is where I'm going to add some more details and some more vibrant colors to the artwork, essentially to make it look even more detailed, even more crisp. If you see, I'm just picking up the color from the regions of the hair and again going ahead adding some more brighter and more vibrant colors to the hair to make it looks nice. I'm pretty sure you guys like seeing really bright and vibrant stuff, and the hair part in this particular artwork happens to be the part where you can play with colors. I really absolutely enjoy working with really bright colors, really vibrant colors. You can see that now I have picked a color which is a little more in the cooler zone, a little more saturated, so to say, and I'm now going ahead and adding more details in the hair in the places where I want the light to hit directly, and that's essentially the zone where it is a little more lighter in comparison to what the base color of the hair was. I'm picking the colors from different parts of the artwork throughout the process, and you can see that the eyes at this stage, what I have done is I took a color which is a little dark color in the same color palette as the ones in the hair, right? I have not gone ahead and picked some different color. It's essentially to make the entire artwork look harmonious. You can see that I am picking colors from the canvas in different places in order for it to look seamless, in order for it to look natural, right? If you pick colors, pick colors which are really, really disjointed, then your artwork will not look pretty. Okay. In order to be able to do that, go ahead and choose a color palette. If you want to learn more about color, you can go ahead and explore color theory, color harmonies. A lot of interesting stuff. You will definitely enjoy learning about it. Okay, so again, on the eyes, one interesting part that I always love adding to the eye is the highlights on the eye to make it look shiny. When I said whenever you want to make something look shiny, the thing that you need to do is go ahead and add a hard highlight. You can see in this piece, what I have done is on the eye, I have added a really, really bright highlight which makes it look shiny, right? The hard highlight is what makes it look shiny. Whenever you want to create anything that has to look shiny, remember it has to be a hard brush and you have to go really with high opacity and apply pressure and get that kind of a hard line the way I did on the eyeballs. Okay, I will let it play. You can see the kind of strokes that I'm making, the kind of blending that I'm doing. In case you would want me to talk about any particular specific topic, then you can always go ahead and message me on Instagram. You can leave messages on any of the platforms that I'm present on. You can see that my coordinates are mentioned right here. I'm on Instagram @Artma and on YouTube Draw with Artma. Right? You can follow me on both these handles and you can learn the stuff that I'm teaching over there and also stay connected with me on the kind of work that I do. Now you can see that I'm going ahead and adding finer details to the lips of this character. Now, lips are pretty interesting and they are like the second most important part when drawing a face, correct? And this particular piece, what I have done is I have gone for a very, very minimalistic approach to drawing lips. You can see that I have made a simple line in the center. At the same time, I have added another small shadow little under the center line of the lip, right? What that does is essentially it makes you, see or conceive the fact that there is a lower lip underneath it and which is causing a shadow beneath it, right? Also, there are some parts of the face which catch light, which are a little shiny because of the fact that they have oil deposits. Yes, I know it kind of sounds weird when I say it like that, but some parts of the face where there is light which directly hits and also they are prone to have some amount of oil deposits, they kind of shine and that looks really nice when you actually add it to a particular artwork, right? Corners of the nose are one such place. That's why I have added some amount of highlights there. While this artwork, you are able to see the flow of the artwork, you're able to see the strokes that I'm making. Why not talk about some other things that you guys should possibly keep in mind while pursuing to get better as an artist, while trying to improve as an artist, right? One thing that I would definitely want to suggest you is always go ahead and try something that is a little bit beyond what your current skill level is. I would always suggest anybody who's trying to get good at creating artworks or being an artist for that matter, I would always say try and keep pushing the boundary, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you will only be relearning the same thing again and again, and not be expanding your capability or your skill set, right? In order to be able to expand your knowledge and expand the kind of artworks that you can create, always go ahead and try something that intimidates you. Always go ahead and try something that is a little out of reach for you. right? You'll be surprised. Once you start doing it, you'll be really surprised at what kind of stuff that you can create. And I have seen that happen in the boot camp in the boot camp, as in the Atma boot camp, where I had students who started with very basic understanding of what digital painting was, and went ahead and did some really good work. And even now, they're improving upon the skills that they gained through the entire workshop or in the entire boot camp that I ran for them, right? You guys probably need to keep in mind that the first and the most important thing that limits you from achieving the kind of skill level that you want to achieve is first believing that you can do it, right? I would highly urge you to first start believing that you can do it. Start believing that your skill level can improve to a point where people will look at it and go, wow, that's something amazing. Yeah, you have to first believe in it. And I would never for a second want you guys to think that you cannot become as good as somebody else. You should never be thinking my skill will never get as good as XYZ person. I have to tell you guys this, that it's eventually about how much time and effort that you are putting into it. If you are putting in focused time and focused effort, there is no way that you cannot get good. There is absolutely no way. The only thing that is stopping you from reaching that stage where you get really good and you start loving your work is putting in the time and effort. And I am here to help you, guide you in whatever you want to do in the best possible manner that I can do it, in any different format that I can, right? So you guys can see the artworks process, and I urge you to have a look at this. Try these techniques in your artworks. Also, maybe if you are a beginner, just play this video and follow along. Follow along every single step, everything that I'm doing. Check for what tools I'm using, how I'm changing the colors, which areas am I adding what color. If you follow along the entire process, there is no way that you will not hit the same results, and that's impossible. I have seen students in my bootcamp who got really good results just following the steps that I'm trying to explain to you. With that, let me just go ahead and talk some more about the stuff that I have done on this artwork. You can see that while I'm using the hard round brush only, I'm not sticking to a particular size, right? In the beginning, I was using a big brush, and slowly, as the time came to the point where I was doing the medium details and the smaller details, I went ahead and gave the reduce the size of the brush to a smaller one, and that's where you can see that the edges of the entire character, where I'm defining it a little more. Like I said in the beginning, I was not really particular about the shapes of the character, but I was more interested in the broader shapes. Now is the time when I'm going ahead and refining the shapes and making them a little more prominent. Okay? Some of you may be wondering that I am making brush strokes in certain regions, but you are not really seeing the paint flow through the brush. What am I doing here? I am essentially trying to blend things using the pressure sensitivity of the brush or the pen tool that I have. The idea essentially is that if you put too much pressure on the tablet that you are drawing on, more amount of paint flows through it. If you put less pressure, then less amount of paint flows through it. If you were to give a particular artwork a blended kind of a look, what would you do? You would vary the pressure on the pen very, very gradually. That's what I'm trying to do. If you see the regions, for instance, like the nose, okay, I am not putting equal pressure across in the entire region. What am I doing? I am putting a certain amount of pressure to create this region or this particular part of the nose. And if I have to go a little more blended towards the more lighter region, I am reducing the pressure on the pen and slowly moving upwards. So you can see that there is a blend where you can see that this is a more redder shade, and then as I move towards the top of the nose and towards the forehead, you can see that the entire color is kind of gradually changing. And all that is happening not because I'm using any blending tool or I'm using any smudge tool. I'm using the brush and varying the pressure on the brush, on the pen tablet that I'm using, and getting these kind of blends. If you want to see more techniques on how blending can be done, go ahead and check my video on YouTube. It's called the different techniques, how to blend colors easily, if I'm not wrong. That's the title of the video. You can see different techniques also, but this one right now which I'm explaining is the one that I prefer because it gives a very, very organic look to the artwork. See, I'm refining the edges, I'm adding more details at each stage. Now at this point you can see that the artwork is starting to take shape. You are able to see the fineness of different parts of the face. The eyes more or less are in the right place where they should be. The nose, you can see that the shape is coming through, the form is coming through. Now is the time when I go ahead and start refining things. Each of the stages in this particular piece, I'm going to refine it, make it more crisp, and all of that I'm doing by simply selecting color from in and around that region. I told you the shortcut, it's Alt. If you hold Alt, the pen automatically becomes a color picker. You can go ahead and pick color and then smoothly blend that particular region. See, I picked that color again and made it a little darker. Why? Because I'm going to go ahead and give some shadow in the eye. You can, probably already realize why there needs to be a shadow on that part of the eye. Why is that so? Because the eye has the top eyelid, right? The top eyelid happens to be the thing that is stopping light from hitting the eyeball. And because the eyeball is underneath it, there will be a shadow that the eyelid casts on the eyeball, and you can see that there is a shadow that's being made here. Similarly, even inside the eyelid casts a shadow on the eyeball, and that's what you are seeing as the dark region here. There is a lot that I can talk about specifically about drawing an eye only because it is such a beautiful and such an intricate part of a particular character's expression as well. So I probably will be able to speak for half an hour if you allow me to, only on the eye, because there is so much beauty and so much amazing construction going on and so much light being reflected across, and all of that basically allows you lets you play with the colors and give different kinds of textures to it. So probably you are able to pick some of those things here, the way the color is, the light is hitting the eyeball and where the highlights are happening, right? And where there are shadows or where there are dark regions. Another thing that I want to talk to you here is that there is a patch in the center of the face usually where the colors are a little redder in comparison to the rest of the face. Why is that so? Again, the same reason that I talked to you about in the very beginning. There is blood vessels flowing through across the face, and some parts of the face the blood shows more in comparison to the others. So the nose and some parts of the cheeks will be a little redder in comparison to the rest of the face, and that's what will make it look lively. Remember, never make a face which is completely in single color. that's not a good approach, and you will probably not be able to make it look lively and vibrant. I wouldn't want you guys to even try to, make an artwork where the colors of the entire face are just uniform. Don't do it. That's the biggest mistake that you can commit. You see, now going to the hair part, again, I'm adding more and more finer details here. I'm picking color from different parts of this particular section of the hair, and in order to show hair. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do you draw hair? How do you, create the texture of the hair, etc. I'm not making this as a very, very detailed artwork, but at the same time, you can see that with simple change of planes, I am able to show you the parts or places where the hair is actually bending. If the hair bends, then the light hits at a certain point and there will be a shadow at a certain point. And these highlight regions, shadow regions are the things which will make it look like it's also a three-dimensional object. Okay? And some more finer lines towards the edges of the hair is what will make it look like it's a flowy object and not a solid object, just like any other part of the face. I hope you are learning something. I hope you are able to pick some techniques from the work that you are seeing on screen. In case you are finding this useful, please come over to Instagram. Let me know if you enjoyed learning this, if you found value in this. What I'm doing now is basically, adding a background to this particular character. Now, a background is sometimes tricky to execute because it can either break or make your entire artwork. Sometimes if the background is not working well, then it can completely destroy the work that you have done on the piece. But here I've taken a very, very simplistic approach. I am using a color palette which is in the green, violet and orange zone. Now, if I'm doing this, then I did not want to go completely different with the background that I wanted to create. I stuck to the same zone as the skin and a slightly more brownish shade. The choice of colors predominantly depends on harmonies. You should probably learn about them. I also talk in depth about the kind of color, combinations and the color harmonies that you can probably work with in order to make really beautiful looking artworks in my bootcamp and in my courses. If you guys are interested, you should definitely check it out. If you are somebody who's really keen about learning this stuff more in detail, I am always available. You can talk to me about the kind of stuff that you want to learn. I will be more than happy to assist you, more than happy to give you some more tips and tricks about how you can get better at doing this stuff. I'm simply trying to add more, highlight just around the edges of the character in order to make the character pop, right? There is a background. Now you can see the layer structure here. There is one layer which is at the bottom just above the background, which happens to be the layer which is the background layer. On top of that, I have added another layer which is kind of a silhouette sort of a shape just around this character. Again, when I'm doing this on different layers, the biggest advantage that I have is none of that will be interfering with one another, right? All of that will happen on an individual layer and things will not be merged with each other, or you will always have the flexibility to make changes. Now, what did I do right there? I selected all the three layers and hit Ctrl T, which happens to be the shortcut for transform. It allows you to change the shape and size of a particular layer. When you do this on multiple layers together, then all of them can be resized accordingly. I'm using the eraser here to refine the shapes that I have created for the background, just to make it interesting, because the character has rounded edges and rounded shapes in her entire face, most of the face. I am using angular shapes in the background to create contrast. These are certain principles that make your artworks interesting, and you should definitely explore how shapes can influence, the kind of mood that a particular artwork invokes in you, right? How a particular choice of a shape, choice of a color, choice of values can invoke different emotions when you look at a particular artwork. All this is very interesting stuff, and I can't wait to talk to you guys about more of these things more in detail, because there is so much interesting things that you can learn. And once you get a grasp of the fundamentals and focus on the basics, you will be able to create artworks which are of whatever level of intricacy, and you will be able to really enjoy the process. Right now, when I said in the beginning that there is a big, there is a medium, and then there is a small, right? The big was the big shapes, big colors, and big details, right? And then we went to the medium stage, and now is when we are focusing on the small details. You can see that I am now finally zooming into the artwork by Control plus, that's the shortcut, and Control minus is the shortcut for zooming out. I am able to give more details by zooming into the artwork and completely having the full view of the piece on my screen, and then going in and adding fine details and refining the edges of each of these shapes that I created initially. Because in case the edges are not clean, even if you zoom out, then you will still be able to see that the shape is not very crisp. If the shapes are not very crisp, then your artwork does not usually look really good. You would want to have shapes which are crisp, and the edges of each of the parts of the face very clearly defined. But having said that, not always. There are always scenarios where you would want to have the edges really blurred. But that depends on whether you want to create a depth of field, whether you want to make the color gradually fade into another color for certain stylistic choice, or it could also be because something's in the shadow. So all of these things are specific to particular use cases. All of these things you guys can possibly explore. I'm just giving you certain things to start thinking about. In case you have any queries, any questions about any of this stuff, go ahead and leave me a message on Instagram. Leave me a message and share your queries. I will be more than happy to answer your questions. This is the spot where you see that I am going even finer and like giving really crisp details. You see that if the hair is not in the right place, I am picking the color right next to it and then going ahead and painting on top. It's not that I am erasing anything. It's not that I am going on a separate layer and doing it. All of that is happening on the same layer. Many of you ask me, how can you create artworks without actually doing the entire line art? Here is the answer. It's purely basis changing values, changing color according to the different parts of the face, which makes it look three-dimensional, and it's like building the character from scratch, slowly, adding layers of paint and adding different values from darker to lighter and some highlights and some shadows, all of these things together to make it look like it's a three-dimensional object sitting right in front of your eyes. You see, every time the color picker comes up, you can be sure that I am hitting Alt button to bring up the color picker and to pick a color which is right adjacent to that region in order to be able to do the picking of the color. Now you see, whenever you are working with hair and the parts of the face where the hair actually is falling on, remember that the hair, when it falls on the face, will cast a shadow on it. I see a lot of people creating hair and just leaving it at that. But imagine if the hair was falling on the face without any trace of light being obstructed. If there is something on my face like this, can you see that there is a shadow that is forming here, right? So you need to keep in mind the fact that the hair which is on the top of the forehead will also cast some shadow. So that shadow also needs to be shown, and that's what I was trying to do. Okay? I'll just let this play so you can follow along, and I will add my comments wherever I feel necessary. Slowly and gradually, now I'm giving it the final darkest value edges, right? You can see that under the chin, at the edges of the neck, even the corners of the face, I'm adding really dark lines to define the character, or to add that little bit of more contrast which shows the separation between different stuff, right? um, I would want you guys to pay attention to the small things that I'm doing, because broadly when you see an artwork from a distance you will only be seeing broad colors and broad shapes. When you see the minor details of small things that I'm making, or the small changes that I'm doing to each of these shapes in order to make it look a little more crisp, that's what's going to make your artwork look really different and really help your artwork stand out in comparison to somebody else's who only works at a big scale and does not really go into the details of it. Now, what I'm doing uh, to the background is just a stylistic choice, right? You can leave the background as a plain background, you can leave a background with just the silhouette sort of a shape that I created. Just out of my own stylistic choice, what I did is I added some more dynamic lines to give it a little bit of a graphic look. It looks like it's a pop art, probably a sticker out of a comic book or a particular sticker sheet that you get, right? That's the kind of look that I was going for. So I added some more edges to it to make it look nicer. some of you may be wondering that my speed or the pace at which I'm able to create a particular piece is very, very fast in comparison to where you are at the moment. Remember this, nobody starts at a certain skill level or is really good from the very beginning, right? When I started, I used to take almost 2 days, 3 days, sometimes 5 days for a particular artwork as well. At the beginning, in the very beginning, if you ask me, this artwork would probably have taken me over 4 or 5 hours of work to really go ahead and give the details. But the approach that I am talking to you about, the kind of stylistic choices that I have made in this piece, those are things that I have developed over the period, which makes it a really, really fast and efficient process. I try and teach this process to anybody who gets mentorship from me, because I firmly believe that you should be able to create pieces in a very efficient manner. Why is efficiency important? Because you are an artist and you want to create as many artworks as possible. If you are stuck with one artwork for an entire week or say 10 days period, then you will not be able to make many pieces. And it's down to the kind of choices that you make as an artist, the kind of process approaches that you use in your particular style or in your particular process, that determines the kind of efficiency that you will have in your approach to doing art, right? Many things that you saw in this piece probably were new to you, because usually artists start with making a sketch, creating an outline, then giving some amount of detail on the broad level, and then going ahead and adding finer details, and then slowly refining things. But the approach that you saw here was a little different, right? You can expand on this, you can try and use this kind of approach, and with certain knowledge of art fundamentals and some more advanced techniques, to create really beautiful, intricate, very elaborate kind of artworks. This was just a small demonstration for you guys to understand that in a very short span of time, how can you make something that looks pleasing to the eye, has a certain appeal, and has a certain mood to it. I hope you learned something looking at this entire process. If you did, make sure you come and let me know about your experience. If you made this artwork, share it on social media, tag Artma, so I get to know that you also created the same artwork that I essentially wanted you guys to learn from, and that will make me really happy. Also, coming to the closing of the entire process, this artwork is almost done. You can see that I'm just trying to add some more fine details. Like I said, I do not focus on details in the beginning. Details are only things that I keep for the very end. You can see that the artwork is almost complete at this stage. Now, I would want you guys to go ahead and do this particular piece and use the techniques that I showed you in this particular run-through video, a walkthrough video. If you guys want to learn more of this stuff, then I'm always here. You can reach out to me and talk to me about different things that you have queries about, doubts about. Also, in case you have any friends who would want to learn this stuff, then the link is right in front of you. I'll put it over here. So you can tell them to go ahead and also check out this entire video, where they can also learn this stuff and probably find it useful. I am happy that you joined in. I am so glad that you stuck till the end, and I hope you learned something. This is Venki. I will be here. I will be helping you out with more insights and more stuff to learn and to get better with your craft. Until then, this is Draw with Artma signing off. Bye bye. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो। अगर आप अंत तक रुके हैं तो आप डिजिटल पेंटिंग और डिजिटल आर्ट में इंटरेस्ट रखते हैं। आपके सामने कुछ वीडियोस हैं, इनमें से कोई भी एक वीडियो पिक करिए और डिजिटल आर्ट सीखने का सिलसिला जारी रखिए। मैं फिर मिलूंगा आपसे, तब तक के लिए बाय बाय।